A fabulous goal, an exceptional pass and another last-gasp winner from Raheem Sterling ensured that Manchester City left Dean Court with all 3 points after handing Bournemouth the 5th defeat in as many Premier League fixtures against the Cherries. Yet in the heat of the moment, the player who scored the decisive goal was sent off for a second yellow card due to celebrating his strike in the stands, a bittersweet ending to an exciting game. Below 5 things learned from Bournemouth 11 Manchester City. 1. Bournemouth might just be Guardiola's perfect opponents. An audible groan rocked the country as the official team sheets were released ahead of kick-off. Sergio Aguero was benched from the starting lineup as a precautionary measure due to nursing a knock. Who knows how many players had triple-captained the Argentinian due to City's formidable record against the Cherries. The aggregate score from the last 4 meetings stood at 151 in the visitors' favour. Yet interestingly, none of those 15 goals came from Aguero, and he was absent from the score sheet again, even after coming on as a sub. Bournemouth are a side that like to try and keep the ball, stick to their own system and play positive football, even against the so-called big boys, and that is perhaps why City have enjoyed facing them. They are exactly the sort of opponent who will try to dictate the game, only to hand the initiative to the Mancunians, liberated by the opportunity to meet a foe with similar ideas but without the quality to match them. City created 10 chances to Bournemouth's 3. Rather than having to worry about spoiling tactics or cynicism, they are largely left free to play the way, and show how good they can be, individually and as a collective. The opening stages were a bit rocky in the latest clash, although as soon as City found their equaliser, and rediscovered the poise and composure. Pep Guardiola has often complained about the physicality of the English game, the focus on winning second goals, and the lack of protection for goalkeepers and outfield player compared to what he was used to in Spain and Germany. In September 2016, the Catalan said that Bournemouth were the best side he had faced since arriving in Manchester after beating them 40, a charitable review for an opponent who provides him with the sort of puzzle he likes to solve, even if it took him longer than usual this time round. It's certainly wasn't easy, but it was still the sort of encounter he knows, and knows how to win. He would love to be able to face teams like the Cherries, coached by managers like Eddie Howe, every week, and if he did, he would probably win the Premier League with the ease at which he dominated La Liga and the Bundesliga, if his players could remember how to finish, of course, too. Raheem Sterling's spinning goal from lead for Guardiola, the England international, was the match winner in City's previous game against Everton on Monday night. He came off the bench to find the goal that handed all 3 points to his team at the Etihad Stadium, an impact as a sub that won him a starting place to face Bournemouth. Sterling wasn't at his best, truth be told. His decision-making was off. At times his touch appeared to be heavy. When he is in full flow, he is a difficult player to stop or deny when slipping into spaces, and he found it hard to show that sort of liquidity in possession versus the Cherries, who worked hard to deny him gaps to find. He worked just as hard to keep trying to find them, regardless. Yet none of that mattered by the end of the game as he popped up with seconds to spare to hit home the goal to hand City victory in a match that they had dominated and, on the strength of the numbers behind the performance, were more than worthy of winning, even after they let the second half slip away from them. Fortunately, in Sterling, they had a player who could made it right amid the chaos of an end-to-end ending, even after he himself skied a few shots that might have been better used as chances to find a teammate in a superior position. He had effectively spun some gold from his own leaden outing, and there is much more to come from the 22-year-old, but for now he and his manager will have to wait. Unfortunately for the winger, his understandable decision to run with glee toward the visiting support to celebrate ended up with a second yellow card and City's second dismissal in less than 7 days. Kyle Walker had also been sent off for receiving 2 bookings against Everton, which led to Sterling's match-winning introduction from the bench. 3 yellow cards are becoming a problem for City. Benjamin Mendy, Vincent Kompany and Nicolas Otamendi all went into the referee's book as 3 parts of the back 4 saw yellow. Right back Kyle Walker was only missing due to being sent off in the last match against Everton. Regardless of the merits of these bookings, it will become a problem for Guardiola if officials continue to take the names of his players. It's not as if he and his teams are above gamesmanship, bending the rules when it suits them, of course. City have plenty of wonderful footballers who are happy to take the law into their own hands and go dirty to gain an edge or settle a few scores. Even the likes of David Silva have a nasty streak. Guardiola himself was a bit of a master of the dark arts during his playing days, an aspect of his game that has since been airbrushed out of history. The key is to be clever about it and get away with it. Acting dumb and being blunt doesn't help anyone apart from the opposition, and with referees clearly in the mood to hand out cards, deserved or otherwise, City need to be careful not to rack up the suspensions. It's clear how much they miss individuals such as Vincent Kompany when they are unavailable through injury. They cannot find themselves in a position where the captain regularly cannot play for other reasons too. 4. David Silva is still City's most mesmerizing magician. Gabriel Jesus offered his manager the perfect response, leveling the score 8 minutes after Charlie Daniels' wonder goal, and going close to snatching the lead before the half-hour mark. David Silva was the architect behind the equalizer. His pass to set up the goal was a sudden burst of decisive beauty. Angled, weighted and timed to perfection, it travelled through the only available hole in Bournemouth's defence to meet the Brazilians' run as if the midfielder had refracted a ray of light through a glass block. Had Guardiola needed an example of what he wanted from his team in the final third, he couldn't have designed a better template if he'd tried. City spent the remainder of the first half trying to replicate the move but from different angles, keeping the ball until they could catch sight of an opening. After an opening exchange that had suited the hosts and proven too chaotic for the visitors to control, the match settled into a rhythm that suited the team in blue. Even before putting his side back on top, Silva could be found making himself busy at the other end of the pitch, cutting out a dangerous ball that might have otherwise put the Cherries 20 up from inside his own box. While Kevin De Bruyne may the most explosive all-rounder in the squad, his partner in midfield remains the most role model for what the manager wants. He is Guardiola and City personified, and still the player most capable of conjuring nuanced brilliance out of nowhere. 5. Both teams still too rusty to meet expectations in a few more weeks of football. This could have been a superb spectacle. As it was, the new faces on display still appeared to be lacking a little something. Bernardo Silva wasn't quite on song. Benjamin Mendy clearly requires more time to get match fit, and Jermaine Defoe was lively, yet Bournemouth will need to get used to providing him the service he wants and needs, although he might have enjoyed more success had he not been constantly clattered by Nicolas Otamendi and others. All three were either making the debut or the first starts for the respective sides. Raheem Sterling had only featured as a sub coming off the bench prior to facing the Cherries, and it was clear that his decision-making and touches weren't up to scratch. He too needs more minutes to get up to speed, especially if Guardiola is intent on using him in a more demanding central role this year. No one can take away his impact for the winning goal, however. Nathan Ake, on the other hand, had no such excuse. The Dutchman was poor in the first half and was lucky to stay on the pitch after appearing to commit a foul as the last man. Bournemouth are still to win a single point in the league this season. They cannot afford for players such as the record signing from Chelsea to be anything other than in peak condition if they are to keep things respectable in the third campaign in the Premier League, even if he grew into the match after his mistakes. City too need to find the gear sooner rather than later. If they continue to merely rumble on as they are doing, they will not be title contenders in 2018. Winning late may be a sign of champions, but as Manchester United showed last season, failing to punish sides that have been dominated is a costly habit to fall into.